Good evening. We have two meetings tonight. The first is the Cunningham Town Board, and that will be followed by the regular meeting of the Urbana City Council. I'd like to call the meeting of the Cunningham Town Board to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Miss Ammons?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Jacobson?
Here.
Mr. Madigan?
Here.
Miss Marlin?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Mr. Smythe?
Here.
Mayor Pressing?
Here. The first item is the minutes of the previous meeting, November 3rd, 2014.
I'll move to approve.
I think that, Carol Ammons, are you seconding that motion?
I was moving it, but I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, motion by Roberts, seconded by Ammons. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? That motion carries. Committee to verify bills. Michelle Mayall, Township Supervisor.
Bills for December that include November interim checks. Town fund is $55,348.18. General assistance fund is $18,472.84.
Okay. Any questions for Michelle? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Marlin,
I'll second that.
seconded by Jacobson. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? That motion carries. Reports of officers, Michelle?
I sent everybody an email last Wednesday with all of the board information on it, along with our coat drive that we have chose to partake in again this year. It actually starts today, but we already have a box full that people have been dropping off in our lobby. So that is the drop site for coats, sweatshirts, jackets, throw blankets, hats, gloves, scarves, anything to keep somebody warm in the cold weather. And we don't have an end date for it with the weather being so wishy-washy, so we'll just continue it until the weather gets a little warmer next year.
Okay. Any questions for Michelle? All right, we'll move on to petitions and communications. Is there anyone who would like to address the Cunningham Town Board? I don't see anyone. I don't believe we have any unfinished business. So we'll move on to new business. First is resolution number T 2014-12-007R, a resolution to authorize the property tax abatement for residential, commercial, and industrial property improvements in the Urbana Enterprise Zone. Michelle?
You all have had a few presentations on this. So I met with Libby and Brandon and Kate, and it is the same thing that they have presented to City Council a couple of times. So if anybody has any questions, I'm sure Libby or Kate could answer them.
This would be the last government to approve it?
Besides City Council, I believe.
City
That's
Council
doing
already
it
did it,
tonight.
right?
No.
Oh, it's coming up tonight.
Correct.
We just did it at committee.
Yes.
But this is a one-stop deal? Okay.
I move approval of Resolution 2014-12-7R.
Second.
Okay, motion by Smythe, seconded by Roberts. Any discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Miss Ammons?
Yes.
Did you say yes or no?
She said yes.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Miss Marlin?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Smythe?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next is ordinance number T 2014-12-004, an ordinance levying taxes for all town purposes for the town of Cunningham, Champaign County, Illinois, for the tax year 2014, collectible in 2015. Do you want to talk about that, Michelle?
This was also in your packet that was sent last Wednesday, and I don't know if anybody has any questions. I didn't hear from anybody on it, so.
Well, we have talked about holding all our taxes to the same rate.
Mhm.
So I think that could be done now, or it could be done later in a special resolution to the county clerk.
The same rate.
Keep the tax rate the same, because that's what we're worried about, is the overall tax rate. It wouldn't be a huge difference, but the city is taking that position. Other governments are raising their tax rates, and we already have a very high tax rate, so that's why the
Mhm.
city is concerned. So I wondered if the township could also take that same step. But I don't think we have to decide tonight. Is that correct, Mr. Grosser?
Yes, that has nothing to do with what's before you. This is the levy which needs to be passed by tonight.
Okay. But if we wanted to lower the rate, or limit the rate, we can do that separately?
Yes, you can inform the county clerk.
What would be the deadline up until the end of the year, or is there some time after that?
I'd have to ask the county clerk. That I think depends upon his schedule.
Okay, thanks. Any questions? Bill?
Yeah, I appreciate the breakdown. Last time we just voted on the total amount. I noticed that the general town fund went up about 100,000 and the general assistance fund went down about 100,000. So I think that makes sense for the general assistance fund because we weren't spending all of it. So I was just curious if you had plans for the budgeting extra money in the general town fund, or do you anticipate that just evening out the fund balances between the funds?
When I did the email, I talked about the social service funding versus a rent assistance program. So there is 100,000 in there for whichever way the board decides to allocate that money, leave it alone, or open to other suggestions. But there was a little bit of increase in personnel with raises, and then with some training and stuff, but not much. It's the same dollar amount as the last budget. We just didn't spend all of that in personal allowances, which is the client line item, the general assistance line item.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Eric?
So let me be clear. The social service funding comes out of the town fund?
Correct.
Okay. So although you had discussed in your memo shifting between social service funding and rent assistance program, tonight's vote doesn't have any implications for
No.
that decision. Okay.
This is just the estimate of the figures for the next fiscal year, because when taxes are dispersed, they're on calendar year. We're not. So we've got 6 months one year, 6 months of another year. So it's just a guesstimate on the figures on where we would potentially like to end up, and it explains down to the penny the 1.3 million that we did not raise from last year.
Okay, do we have a motion on this?
I'll move approval of ordinance T 2014-12004, an ordinance levying taxes for all town purposes for the town of Cunningham, Champaign County for the tax year 2014, collectible in 2015.
Second.
Seconded by Marlin, motion by Smythe. Any other discussion? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Sammons,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Madigan,
Yes.
Ms. Marlin,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Smythe.
Yes.
That motion carries. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.